Hey everybody, Brenda here at The Alternative Route. So I apologize for the delay, I guess, in getting all of this rolling. Obviously, as life goes on during these crazy COVID times, there's always something that kind of pops up. And so currently I'm working on blogging and creating some more content and some videos. But as our new journey starts into homeschooling and not having like those chunks of dedicated kind of daycare centered time or school time with my kiddo away, as most of us are in this kind of 2020, paradox. Yeah, it's getting a little bit tougher to have those quiet moments and those moments away. So I am planning on moving forward and, just doing it at the pace that we can. But I just wanted to jump on and share this video on our page because that kind of leads me into this next realm of our life, which is going to be homeschooling. My daughter is 5 and she would be starting kindergarten. And honestly, before I even had a child, I have always been kind of fascinated and interested by the concept of homeschooling. I've known a ton of homeschoolers through the former Holistic Moms group that I used to be a leader of, and also through my chiropractic practice. We have tons and tons of homeschool families that have come through over the past 13, 14 years. And just friends of mine in town. Our community here has and has had a pretty amazing, extensive community of homeschooling families, and everything from like a more religious based, a secular based, unschooling, you name it. There's all different types of homeschooling families, and I've just been super fascinated by it. And especially too with our non-traditional views and some of the things that we believe and stand for, some of the changes that are coming with medical type stuff, we've always been like more leaning towards a homeschooling route anyway. So with the 2020 dilemma that we're in, for starting kindergarten, our only option was virtual. And I don't know about you, for me, I was like, number one, I don't want my kid sitting at a computer that long, and I don't even know what that would look like. She would be, looking at brand new teachers and students and people that she doesn't necessarily have any connection with. But also the scheduling of it seemed like, well, what if it's, 4 or 5 days a week, like either mornings or afternoons or this chunk of time, and my husband and I both work. I'm like, this isn't going to work with our schedule. And so my interest became like, we're doing this, and this is now my passion and stuff. So I really, really, really want to connect with other people too that have been homeschooling, or maybe their kids are already done and graduated, but they homeschooled, are currently in the throes of it right now, or because of like this new COVID situation are looking to dive into that situation as well. So I'm going to be, I think, creating another separate group geared towards connecting some homeschool families. I know that there's already this really amazing Wisconsin homeschool support group, so I'm not looking to connect to the entire state, but more like a smaller geographical region where, when and how it's safe to do so, some families can maybe do some activities together, share some resources, have a sense of community, allow children to actually get to know other children as well, and just really stay connected. And I feel like the brunt of this is going to be falling on moms. I know that there's some dads that will be highly involved in some things, but like anything that comes down to this, there's going to be the majority on the backs of moms, whether you're a stay-at-home mom already, a working mom, a homeschooling mom, a work from home mom, like whatever it looks like. I know that most of the people picking the curriculum, getting the areas ready, picking the supplies, picking the schedule, making it happen, like that's going to be on the backs of mom. So I really, 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 really want to connect with a lot of other parents, especially, like I said, in a smaller geographical region. We're in Mount Horeb, so I'm thinking anywhere kind of Dane, Sauk, Iowa. What's right below us? Is that Greene or Lafayette? Lafayette, I think. Those type of counties where it's like maybe 30-mile radius-ish or so, 30, 40. And just really share in this journey together. My excitement for homeschooling is because the kids can really learn at their own pace. So prior to becoming a pediatric and prenatal chiropractor, I went to UW-Madison and my degree was in psychology. And I took a lot of child development, abnormal development and learning and, all these different classes that really help you understand brain development at certain levels. And then in my ICPA pediatric certification, again, a lot of advanced like neurology and pediatric development. And so really understanding how the child brain works. And again, there's nothing against the school system and public schools. And, we need schools and teachers, especially as we're seeing now. I mean, it's really hard to work without having the school system. So it's not like a bash on anything. And it's not a bash on teachers. I just see in my own child, like she learns differently already. And she really needs to have the time to kind of dive into things that she's super interested in. If she's in the middle of focusing on something and I interrupt her, she is mad. She's like, I am focusing on my work. I'm doing my work. And so even the idea of that traditional school system where like every 50 minutes, you're just changing it. I can already see that would be disruptive for her brain and her thinking pattern, her development, and how well she can concretely make those learning connections and things like that too. So I am so excited to kind of bridge this gap of understanding the development and these different principles about brain development, neurology development, and the fact that different kids have different learning styles. And some pick up math like that, and some pick up reading like that, and some pick up art like that, and some pick up music like that, and some pick up the physical attributes and activities and stuff really easily. And that I get to allow my child to help me in discovering her development. And so I'm super, super, super excited to go on this journey. Is it going to be hard? Yeah. My daughter does not want to listen to me ever, but I also feel like if we're coming from this perspective of we're doing this together and following her lead somewhat, as opposed to me putting on teacher hat and I'm just controlling and demanding her time, it's also going to be very different. So the last few weeks have really been once my husband and I made the decision, because literally we were on this emotional roller coaster like everybody else has been. And for us, it's only one child entering kindergarten. It's not like we're trying to navigate 3 or 4 or 5 different kids of various ages and all of these different dynamics. Both of us work out of the home. My husband works for the post office. His schedule is very inflexible. My schedule is definitely more flexible, but it also didn't mean that I wanted to or had the ability to just not work at all, or however that looked, because I still need to come in. I still need to care for my patients. I still need to pay my bills and do all those things as well too. So the great thing is that we have this flexibility, and we can arrange our schedule, or my schedule and her schedule, around that. But once I was Chris, we need to make a decision about this, because the emotional roller coaster of are they in school? Are they hybrid? What days is she going to be there? Do we still need to find coverage or childcare the other days? Well, what if there's an outbreak and then she's back to being at home? And what does that mean for us? Do I have to close down my office every time there's an outbreak? Now we're virtual. What does that look like for kindergarten? The emotional roller coaster for us was worse than just let's just make a decision to homeschool. For a lot of people this year, obviously, they're hoping it's a 1 year situation that 2021 will bring normalcy and ease and all of those things. I'll get into some things on some other posts, but the new normal that we're headed towards is not something that I really want to be a part of, and also don't necessarily want to force my child into being a part of that either. My child is very sensitive to a lot of stuff, and a lot of kids are, and especially these younger years, they're sponges. They're very vulnerable. They're very I don't want to say easily manipulated, but like you can tell them something and they're just going to integrate it, and a lot of times they're not going to ask any questions, especially if somebody of authority is telling them to do something. And I really want my child to be an independent, critical thinker. As much as some days it like destroys me literally, because I'm like, can you please just do it this way? I really want her in the long run to be able to assess a situation. And honestly, like, she has had this thing about her since day one. She observes everything. She goes with her gut feeling. She is very sensitive. She is very empathetic. She can read the energy in the room and know, like, barely when she walks in if there is somebody that she wants to talk to or doesn't want to talk to. And there's no amount of persuading that's going to change that. She's very determined. She's very persistent. She's not a go with the flow kid, and she never has been. And I could see too, even how that type of flow to a normal school day could be kind of disruptive to her sense of being too. One thing I tell all of my practice members all the time is find your intuition. Focus on that gut feeling. Focus on the magic. Look at the coincidences, or not coincidences, but the synergistic relationship of the universe. And kids have that. And our natural, or I should say unnatural, way in our society is to squash that. It's to shut that down. It's to listen to authority. It's to, never question anything. And I can't do that to her. And so I really honestly feel like we're in this for the long haul, no matter what 2021 looks like. But I have a feeling there's some really nasty stuff coming and down the pipeline in the next year or so, which is another reason why I would rather enjoy the homeschool route and have a little bit more, not control, but assessment of different situations and understanding exactly what she's being taught. And again, this is not anything against teachers or schools, but it's kind of this whole system. It's this whole paradigm where I just want to make her life as inspired as possible, follow her goals and visions and dreams. And, what does she feel like doing that day? What does she feel like learning about that day? Where does she feel like exploring that day? Where do her strengths and talents, really lie? And so I'm super excited. And like I said, I really want to connect with other moms, other dads, other parents, other families, especially in a smaller geographical region, just to share even some resources. Like, if your kid's a couple years older than mine and you have some stuff to pass down, like, let's do that. If there's somebody that's coming up the pipeline that's a couple years younger than my daughter, like, sharing those resources as well, sharing books, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, and all this stuff. So I am super excited. And if you, like I said, this alternative route is going to talk about so many things. So if you're not homeschooling, please stick around, because there's going to be so much other information. But I just kind of feel like the season that we're in right now is this. And so, but I'm going to be talking about birth stuff and prenatal stuff and baby stuff and breastfeeding stuff and gardening stuff and composting stuff and essential oil stuff and supplement stuff and homeopathic stuff and, obviously chiropractic stuff and mindset stuff. I mean, there's so much, obviously environmental stuff and recycling and these things, but the alternative route is really this encompassing idea that you don't just do what you're told, and you're not going against it because you're just trying to be, anarchist or something. Like you're just trying to like be facetious and not do what you're told. You're doing it because you understand that there are alternatives. Sometimes they're better alternatives. Sometimes they're healthier, safer, cheaper, more environmentally friendly, more child friendly, just all these different things. And that understanding the fact that like, just because mainstream media told you something, or even a teacher told you something, or a medical doctor told you something, or a government official told you something, that it's not always the only option, the best option, the safest option, the most cost-effective option, the greenest option. And usually, if companies and the media and the government are telling you something, you should probably look at some other alternatives, at least just to research what else is out there, then make your decision. And if you still like their option, great, go for it. But if you're like, wow, I never would have known about these other options if I hadn't looked into alternatives and tried out this alternative route. And so if you've read my kind of welcome message thing, my whole life has basically been swimming upstream, going against the grain, taking the alternative route, taking the road less traveled. I mean, like almost every single thing about my life has been non-traditional in some sense. And I'm talking like more like adult life too. I mean, my parents didn't raise me like this. This isn't stuff that I was doing growing up. So anything that happened kind of in my childhood, but I questioned a lot of stuff in my childhood and teens, and really started to question a lot of things while I was a college student at UW-Madison. That's literally when this first fork in the road happened, was while I was a college student at UW-Madison. But I've lost friends because of it, but I've also gained some amazing friends because of it. Sometimes people just don't get you and they're fine. They're like, whatever, I still like you. Sometimes people are like, oh, so you don't believe in XYZ, or you decided to have a home birth, or you did extended breastfeeding or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I don't think we can be friends anymore. And, I've had to really let some things go. But the community, the tribe, the group of amazing women and parents and families and practice members and community members that I have had the opportunity to connect with that are on similar routes has been absolutely amazing. And nobody's route is the same. 2 people or 3 people or 10 people could all be taking what they consider alternative routes. None of them are going to look the same, and that's the beautiful thing. We all have our own route, our own path, our own journey. And that's the great thing. But I would say most people in America are on the same journey for probably 95% of it, because they're doing what they were told without actually doing any other additional research, talking to real people that have done the alternative things instead of just discussing things with people that have the same exact outlook and therefore confirm their beliefs before they even have a chance to make their own, if that makes sense. I'm really interested in connecting with people that aren't afraid to think outside the box and to live outside the box, or to live off the grid, or to, have chickens in their backyard, or grow herbs in their backyard and make their own medicines and tinctures, and just really do their own healing and their own work, and not letting somebody else take the credit for their work, or, do all this, other stuff. So anyways, starting to ramble here, but I just wanted to get on and share this first little video. Like I said, I'm working a lot behind the scenes. It's just been slow going because honestly, I thought 2020 was my year. Like I had big time plans, goals for for this, for a couple of other things. And I mean, right away in January, my dad died. My mom got sick in February, and in March, like COVID happened. And then it's now like mid-August, and I feel like part of me feels like it's still March, like time has stood still. And then other parts of me feels like, oh my God, how is it almost fall, back to school season? Like, you know, oh my God. So, and then again, the childcare situation and just not having those chunks of time. So I'm grateful that this goal, this idea, this passion, this venture and journey, I mean, if anything this year, it has been fired up and rejuvenated. And, but just like any other working mom slash stay-at-home mom slash soon-to-be teacher mom slash, you know, navigating an already traumatic year, I'm just like doing what I can, but like, trust me guys, there's some really cool stuff coming. So please, please, please share this group with anybody else that you think is, you know, like-minded or open-minded or kind of on this alternative journey. Or maybe 2020 and COVID and all of this is the year that like a lot of people are going to start this journey, because they're really waking up to the fact that the only way that we survive any type of a pandemic is by being healthy. That's physically healthy, that's nutritionally healthy, that's mentally healthy, that's, you know, getting fresh air and vitamin D and not living in fear. There's so many layers to health that it's just important that we don't just focus on like one or two small areas and negate the rest. So I feel like this year has been a real eye-opener for a lot of people on what do they actually have control of. I feel like for other people, they're sinking down worse and they're following where they're told to go. So this might be an important time for you to decide, what do I want to do? Like, which fork in the road do I want to take? I encourage you, try an alternative route if you've never tried one before. If this is the newest thing to you, if you've always just been obedient and done what you told and never questioned anything, and maybe you've done that and the results have been awesome and you're like, why would I question anything? Like, my life is great. Perfect. But if you've been doing everything that you've told and you've never questioned anything, and you're over here in shit land and you're like, I'm fucking sick, my kids are sick, everybody's sick, we can't catch a break, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm overweight, I've put on 20 pounds since COVID, you know, my kids are struggling, my marriage is struggling. If you're over here, you might want to try some other things, is all I'm saying. So share this with anybody that you think would appreciate the information. Again, it's not all going to be on homeschooling, but since this is a new season for me, I'm excited about it. There's definitely going to be some different, you know, aspects of that. But, you know, this isn't going to be for everybody. And so I don't want drama here. So if this isn't for you, or this isn't for somebody that you shared it with or whatever, great. Go on with your way, you know, go take your own route, do your own thing. This isn't going to be a place for drama or fighting or name calling or, you know, any type of abuse, really. This is going to be a place for people that want to be on this journey and want to learn things or help teach others things. That's what this is for. I don't have all the answers. I have some answers. I may have some answers that I think are answers, and then we're going to find out they're not answers. This person's got answers, and it's going to be great because it's going to be a community. But I'm not going to tolerate anybody that's not being accepting. Even if you don't believe in everything, just have an open mind. And if it's something that you don't want to dive into, then just don't dive into it. But yes, anyways, I'm excited, and thank you for hanging in. This has been almost a half an hour already, but I just can't wait to see what the future holds, and thank you for being on this journey with us.